Thank you. I'll open the meeting, the Board of Selectmen's meeting for February 15th, 2016. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, our man's not here. So, we can work on, I don't think, while we're waiting for the man to show back. Do we need him for?
You're Jen, right?
Yep.
That's Jennifer.
Hi, Jen.
Her appointment form is in your folder, along with the recommendation from the library trustees.
Yep. We'll just get her out.
It was in the.
Oh, it was in here.
It was in the
Yeah,
red.
that's right,
It's
too.
in it's in the red folder.
Yeah, okay. Ooh, I had seen it. Could I have lost it that fast? Yes. Okay, we have a volunteer for a, alternate to the library trustees, Jennifer Phillips. Would you like to come up there? Hi, Jen. This is good. You'll be out of here in no time flat.
However long you need me.
Yep, do you want to talk a little bit about yourself, Jen?
Sure. My husband and I moved to Nottingham last May. We are in the new subdivision in Rocky Hill Road.
Nice.
And we moved here from Goffstown, where I had served on the library board of trustees there. I found it to be very valuable work. I enjoyed it. And so one of the first things, of course, that I do in any community is go and get my library card, and had mentioned this to Eric and said, if you ever need any help, please keep me in mind. And that's why I'm here.
That's wonderful. Great experience and everything.
Exactly.
I love it.
That's
I love
fantastic.
libraries.
Yeah. Does the board have any further questions?
So what do you think of our little library?
Yeah.
I love it. I'm finding, I'm finding that I'm exploring more different subject matters because it's all in one room. Whereas before in the Goffstown Library, I'd go to my little section and just kind of hang out there. This is good. It gets me exposed to lots of different reading material.
It's a nice library.
It is,
really
and lovely,
is.
lovely people.
Right, exactly, yeah. I have more people comment on the fact that it's warm and inviting. and
Yes.
People are very helpful, yeah,
Mhm.
thank you. Marty?
So just what's your understanding? So we do this with everybody.
Okay.
We're-
Yeah,
and
no,
It's
okay.
really just because if we have the responsibility to appoint people, we wanna make sure that we
Mhm.
meet the people.
Of course.
So kind of, I would just like to hear what your understanding is of the role of alternate trustee.
Well, I'm there to assist and help fill in whenever a trustee cannot make it. It assists in maintaining a quorum when a quorum can't be present, because we all have things that come up.
Yep.
And to be at the meetings and learn how the library works, and fill in when needed, when necessary.
Yep.
And into the trustee role, which, as I mentioned before, I'm very familiar with, anything from budgeting, or of course, Goffstown's library is substantial in size. I was on a subcommittee there that did a lot of the kind of building, interior and exterior, the building subcommittee, dealing with things like replacing air conditioners and painting projects and things like that. So
Wow.
I'm familiar with it. I know it will be different. Every library is different.
Yeah.
But I think that I'm aware of what needs go into it.
Good. I think this is wonderful in that we have a team waiting in the wings if there's an actual vacancy.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I think you're come with a tremendous amount of knowledge, which is only a benefit.
I love new people coming into town that wanna get involved right away.
Well, that is, it is, public service is a big thing for me, and why not do it in an area where you have a strong affinity
Exactly.
already?
Yeah.
And for me, that's definitely reading and libraries.
Yep.
Great.
Well, I'll entertain a motion if anybody wants to.
I will make a motion that we appoint Jennifer Phillips as an alternate member to the Library Board of Trustees.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Welcome to
Thank
town.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Did you have to run over to the old town hall?
No, no, Ron's here.
Oh, thank God.
I'm glad there's no 7:15 appointment.
We went ahead without you.
Yeah, good.
Okay, the manifest for the accounts payable. There you go.
I'll make a motion that we approve 2 accounts payable manifest and payroll manifest of February 16th, 2016.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Done. We can start getting into the minutes. Might as well take them in order, 111.
Make a motion that we approve the minutes dated January 11. Where are they? They are 2016 as amended.
I'll
Or-
second.
There was just one little thing, the CIP meeting as adjourned at 7:49, should it say something else, the CIP meeting? Let's see.
Full on.
Excuse me, dear?
31.
Should it say something else? The CIP meeting was adjourned,
That's fine.
okay, and the other thing was the 2 motions at the end of the non-public didn't have attributes.
Right.
Does anybody remember who did what?
They're in your non-publics.
Oh, thank you, sir.
You sent those out today too, right?
Yep.
So the,
I can just give those to Dawn and we can plug them in if you're
okay,
comfortable with that.
Danis and Carpenter and then Carpenter and Danis.
it was Danis and Carpenter and Danis?
Yeah.
Okay, you got that? Ma'am?
Yes.
Okay.
And who, and this doesn't matter, you guys not here. Leaving, adjourning the action meeting? Okay.
It was Danis, then Carpenter.
Okay,
Thank you.
so, in that motion as, amended?
I think you already did it.
Oh, okay. Really? Okay,
That's how he said it.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll make a motion, we approve the minutes of January 18th, 2016 as amended.
I'll second.
Any corrections, deletions, additions? I didn't see any.
I was okay with the changes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Moving right along.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes dated February 1st, 2016.
There was one on my
Second.
minute, oh, sorry very much. There was one, we were doing the articles, who seconded Article 11, it wasn't in mine. Article 14, Article.
what line, Mary?
What line, just a second, 120,
Second by,
120 what?
Oh, I can go back and, I have them written down on the actual warrant.
Okay. So that has to be put in there.
Yep.
And on the January 25th cancellation rescheduling, mine didn't come up with numbers, so I'm, the January 25th it was the January 25th cancellation and rescheduling.
where,
Gotta stick in rescheduling. Where are you? I don't know.
Line 211.
Thank you, ma'am.
Page 6.
Okay. Dawn, on, line 158, there's an extra backslash.
158?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I added lines 224 to 227.
Were there any others on these minutes?
Well, they're looking at the,
Lines 24 through
I don't have a-
27.
I don't have a problem.
I don't have a problem, that looks good. Was it as amended,
Yeah.
motion? Okay, all in favor?
aye.
Screeching right along here.
Work of that.
So along the lines of the petition on Guile Road,
Yeah,
I feel pretty strongly that this board should send a letter,
okay,
because otherwise he's not being treated the same way, or those petitioners are not being treated the same way that everybody else is.
there's absolutely no problem with that, Mark, no problem at all.
Didn't we already discuss that?
Well, no, it's been kinda mushed around and pushed along. I don't actually think that this board has done a very good job with that one.
Well, generally when a petition comes in, it ends up on the warrant, that one didn't. So it's kind of an unusual
Well,
situation,
you
but I
guys
don't think
made-
you're wrong.
You guys made the commitment to get back to him in time for him to put it on the warrant if he wanted to, and it really didn't happen.
That wouldn't discourage me a bit.
I understand, but the point is, you've got a disenfranchised individual and probably about 100 people who signed it, who are like,
Well-
we go to, because I've talked to them, we go to the town, you know,
Let me,
they
let me
don't do
just
crap.
say, in defense of the Board of Selectmen, Chris isn't here to defend himself, but he's apparently been talking to,
Yeah,
so I think there's been some communication back and forth.
Yeah, yeah.
But something official from the Board of Selectmen, I don't think that hurts. Not a
I
bit.
think it's needed.
But not only that, we have to talk, I mean, there was some discussion about the fact that they're gonna try and find the money in the budget
Yeah.
to fix that. I think that should be
That should be part of the communication back.
right. So can we take this up when Chris
Sure,
is here?
yeah.
Did we say that, though? Did we say we were going to fix that?
No, you didn't.
Well,
I don't believe we did.
it wasn't definite,
No.
but Chris said that there seemed to be, it's not a lot of money, and that is something that they probably could do. I was not totally satisfied with that explanation, but to memorialize it in a letter, I think would be better.
Yeah, and non-commit, you'd be non-committal. Just like it says in the minutes. You know? Exactly like it says in the minutes that we just approved.
What?
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine.
What line was that, Donna?
Well, it's the end. It's what,
Yeah, I know, but we just,
yeah, what Mark just did. I mean, 224 through
to
227.
put that into a letter?
No, yeah, and there's some,
That's the point of view of the letter.
yeah.
Okay.
There's a statement earlier.
Yeah, I really, I think it's a good idea. I think there was a good case made that that's a safety issue, and
221 through 227.
I don't know
Read
that
the-
I've seen enough
read the
data or
paragraph.
information to make me 100% confident that it's a safety issue, but I think it's not a one-road issue.
no.
It's is it an issue for multiple roads in town? We need to be looking at all of them.
Town-owned roads.
It is a safety,
Correct.
it is a safety issue in that I come in that road quite a bit, and you do tend to slur a little bit sometimes if you haven't dropped your speed because you couldn't coming into that road.
I think that-
Coming out is not that big a deal, cause you can just sit there. It's the, going back into that road, and I would say that that's probably a safety issue throughout the town where that occurs, and that's something we should probably start.
Sounds like you need to slow down, Mary.
Well, they're right on your, you know how that is on 152? They're pushing you over.
All right, so
Okay.
we'll make sure that Chris has the action item to draft that letter for us.
Okay, BOS reports from assigned boards and committees, I think I'd be the only one to report.
You did planning for me.
Yeah, I did planning, I didn't bring my planning stuff with me, but I can give you a remembrance. There was a request for a subdivision of 2 lots on, the corner of Case Road and Mill Pond, or, yeah, Mill Pond, Mill Pond down that end. And, that was approved.
Okay.
I don't think there was much else. Let's see if
I think
have-
they had thought that they were gonna talk about master plan, but they didn't get to it, is that right?
There was some mention of it, but
Yeah.
there wasn't a long dissertation on it. Nope, still got it. Okay, so, I'm delinquent. It wasn't a really long meeting.
Good. So I heard, mostly positive feedback from folks on the layout for voting day.
Yes. Yeah, I thought that. As far as I did hear a few wise guy remarks about long walk and this
Yeah.
and that.
Yeah.
But, they were just mostly teasing.
Yeah.
But I don't think that that's going to be a viable solution to the problem, because if there's a crisis that involves the police department, then suddenly that would have to all go away.
Yeah.
Thankfully, we didn't have anything on that day.
They did have a call that they had to go out to.
They had to go out, but it's the bringing in of people.
Yeah.
Didn't they, oh, so it's the bringing in of people?
That's the way I interpreted it.
Because didn't they move all the vehicles up front, so that they wouldn't be stuck back
I
there?
would have thought.
I didn't see them up front. I was here, but I was inside.
Yeah.
So that might be the case. I didn't see that. All in all, I think it went well. There was a couple of hitches. You were there. Don't ever take the last spot. Okay, we have to wait for Chris, town reports.
Well, every
I'm
ballot
sure-
got counted twice.
What was that, dear?
Every ballot got counted twice.
I know, it was extremely accurate.
Thank goodness for machines.
What was that?
General mails and correspondence, we got no mail.
Do you wanna jump ahead and talk about like the flagpole?
Yeah, but we need Chris here to talk about that.
Are you back, or gotta go?
For a bit.
Okay,
Yep, sorry, but,
we're just adjourned.
okay.
Let's get the, we'll do the flagpole at the town square,
Okay.
because we've got every, oh, wait a minute, town departments, I'm sorry.
Town departments, yeah, I just have a list of things that are not working, really. Let's see. Well, just solved the septic pump problem at the fire station, so that's off the list.
Oh, thank God.
I think we just found the water problem here. We have a pipe that's freezing, we may have caught it in time, but we won't know for a bit. And the phone system in this building, I don't know if you've been on the phone with any of us in the last few weeks, but we're losing calls left and right, having a heck of a time diagnosing it, so.
Did Betsy tell you, was it Betsy or was it Sue? Sue Serino. I dialed a number that was not the town hall number, and Sue picked up, and I recognized her voice. And I was trying to explain to her that I called somebody else, and she vanished.
Huh.
So,
Well, that's a new kind of problem. I haven't heard that one, but, we're working with our phone vendor to try and diagnose it. The weird thing is it's impacting only this side of the building, but not the police department, and we both go through the same phone system.
thank God it's not the police.
So, I just tell you because I'm afraid I'm gonna be coming back to you and telling you that we have a bigger problem, but I can't tell you what it is yet.
Our lines are remote from the company, right? In other words, we don't have a PBX sitting here.
No, we have an Avaya, multi-line phone system.
IP phone?
That, and we now have a mix of VoIP and copper. And, I got through today, and tomorrow we'll give up on just relying on our phone service vendor. I think we have a hardware problem now. And that phone system,
Is it the Avaya phones that keep going down?
it's the only thing we have. Everything runs through that Avaya.
Including the police department?
Yep,
Is it just the VoIP stuff, or is it both?
It's both.
Okay.
And we thought we had it last week, we had, we narrowed it down, thought we'd picked out one piece of hardware that was the problem, and we swapped out that piece of hardware. That didn't do it, so, I'm bringing in a phone hardware vendor next. That phone system is at least 15 years old, and I think it might have been used when we got it. Does that ring a bell?
Nope.
No.
That's so long ago.
Yeah, so,
VoIP.
it's, I don't know, I just tell you because
Yeah.
you've been hung up on, and I'll probably be back.
Who is the phone carrier?
It's Bay Ring
Bay Ring.
over, our copper's over Fairpoint, and our VoIP is over Comcast, and we're having trouble with both sides.
Well, Comcast has been having all kinds of problems lately.
Yeah, but we're on like 3 weeks of
Yeah.
problems. This is not I mean,
Yep.
where it's leaking onto the copper lines, it's not we know it's not a Comcast thing. So,
And the copper lines are going back to Bay Ring.
they're Fairpoint copper, but
Fairpoint copper,
they're
but
resold by, and
serviced by
serviced by Bay
Bay
Ring,
Ring.
yeah. So, I don't, it's giving us fits, but, anyway, and the only other thing was the election. I'm having a, kind of a post-mortem with the elected officials tomorrow. If you had any feedback or anything, to share with them, I can. We haven't met since then, so,
The only thing I just don't understand enough about the supervisor's process to know why they're still here at like 1 o'clock in the morning when the polls close at 7.
What they were doing was they were trying to rectify one set of books,
Reconcile yeah.
reconcile, I mean, the incoming checklist
Checklist
with
with
the
the
outgoing
outgoing.
checklist,
No, I understand that.
and they were having a problem. And from what I understood, it took that long. I have my own personal feeling on the exit checklist, that it is not required. But they find that they see a lot of, they were able to make some corrections that they felt that they can't make unless they have the exit. But it
Okay.
does make their job incredibly hard.
I feel badly for the people who are
Oh, yeah.
volunteering and are still here at that time.
Oh,
I
it's just wicked.
can't believe there isn't software.
Well, the voting machine is the exit checklist. That is recognized as the exit checklist. But you don't get that detail of information that an actual checklist is.
When you're an undeclared, which the majority of people in our town are,
Yep.
you have to get a ballot, you have to declare for one party,
And then,
and then you have to undeclare.
Sure.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know what happened, I left at 8:30 or something. But whatever happened may have had to do with taking those people who had gone into a party and then getting them back undeclared.
Was it more that than the
I
exit checklist?
don't know,
Yeah.
I don't know, but
Okay.
that part of it to me seems to be very cumbersome and manual.
yeah,
That's the
Yeah.
manual
Yeah.
piece, you know?
Hey, reasons to design software.
seriously.
There's no reason that you couldn't, well, I don't.
Yes, again, that's
except
why I say.
Election laws.
Yeah.
Election laws may not allow it, but there's no reason you couldn't have a laptop with a shared, you know.
Or is there some way you could be tallying or noting that information over the course of the day? So you're not doing it all at
Yeah.
night? Again, I'm ignorant of the process, I just feel badly for the people who
Oh,
are
yeah.
still there at 1 o'clock, and
Yeah.
It used to be worse when we hand counted. Oh, my God.
if there's anything that we can do to help out with that, I
That was wicked.
think it would be a good thing.
Okay. I'm sure they're thinking of things. Yes, sir?
that's all I got.
The only thing that I heard was that even though that long roundabout way of coming in a sense, worked well, it may not be a solution going forward because of the police department having to walk in that area. So,
we don't anticipate any elections with that kind of turnout,
For the next 4 years?
for another 4 years, and then
Okay.
in November, we'll be at the school.
Right, right.
We'll come out of that and then probably ask ourselves if we need to have the primary in
Yeah.
4 years at the school
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
in February 2020,
Yeah.
in addition to November 2020.
Right.
We'll see how, we'll have the two to compare and see how that goes. And who knows if New Hampshire's primary even matters in 2020, so hopefully that was a one-time thing.
Oh, I know. 4 minutes after 8, they're calling the election.
But Mary,
Yeah?
I've been doing this for 4 years, and every single state or federal election that I've been involved in, they've called it before, I mean, within a half an hour of us closing the polls. it's
4
been
minutes
called,
was the most I've ever seen.
You know, so it's not,
was like-
it's not new. It's not
Oh,
new. It
it's not
happens
new,
all the
but-
time.
And Merrimack actually wasn't closed. Merrimack went on for at least
Oh,
an
yeah,
hour.
they had big issues down there.
So that was really rotten. But
had-
anyway. Yeah, go home, folks, they've already called the election. They were supposed to stop doing that.
I do like the fact that, as compared to 15 or 20 years ago, when it was hard to get people to come out and even cast a vote, we have the opposite going on now. There's a lot of people engaged, a lot of
Isn't it
people are
wonderful?
interested, you know.
I guess they based it on Laconia. They got all the results in from Laconia and said, ah, that's New Hampshire.
So you're talking about something different, but keep going.
No, no,
So, we're gonna ask you to write a letter to Jim Robinson,
oh, okay, go ahead.
Okay.
right? Based on the,
Can we be a little more, positive about the fact that something will, you know, we're gonna try and get this done this year, kind of?
I think if you,
Something a little more-
If you tell us to do it, we
I-
will see that it gets
I
done.
think the
but
way that it's expressed in the minutes, it just basically said, Mr. Carpenter requested the BOS review the issue in context of all town-owned roads, whether an apron for safe ingress egress should be installed. I mean,
So you just want that explored?
I think that you should take line 221, the paragraph before as well. I think you should meld those two things together.
It is the whole.
well, except for the second part of line 222.
However, it isn't too late to modify the
Yeah, I
budget
mean,
if the selectmen want to include any additional funds.
I think we need validation from highway, police.
That
fire.
it is, that it is a safety
That's
issue.
a safety issue, and then how many roads would need to be addressed and what the cost is of doing them all. And whether that can be done within the budget.
You're talking about the aprons?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Because that's not what the petition was about, which is what we started with.
Right.
Okay.
I think you have to tell him that the two-person board decided not to act on his petition. However, you know, what's coming out of it is this discussion of aprons.
There was nothing to act on a petition that they have a positive duty to go by the law and submit it to go on the warrant. The fact that they discussed it with us in advance doesn't give, we don't have any job
Obligation.
to do that, to do anything. This is a citizen's petition, they do it themselves. We can give advice, but we have no job to do there.
So when Romeo Dene petitioned the board 2 years ago for the barn easement, I made sure that we put a significant amount of effort into researching and understanding what the implications was of that when I was chair. And when we were done, we wrote him a letter that said, this is our findings and we've decided not to pursue that. What is different about what Romeo did versus what Jim Robinson did?
Romeo stayed on top of it for one thing. It wasn't just one time coming in and,
There's a law, the barn easement thing has a law and a point in the law where you have to make a decision as a board.
Okay,
There is a point,
Yeah.
you were following the law in addressing that. In that particular case, there was a point, and I can't recite the whole thing, but there was a
Yeah.
point where you had to make a decision. And you had to vote up or down. So that's a difference in the two things that you just
Okay.
described, so.
Yeah, that's it. But,
But the point is well taken that he deserves a response.
yeah,
and
I
we-
don't have a problem with that, and I don't even have a problem finding the funds on this particular issue, but it's a larger issue that has to be addressed, perhaps. So we'll know that by investigating it, inquiring with the police and highway, even the state highway, to see if that's something that they encourage. But we don't have to hold up this little request for a larger scale study. That's government.
I'm not sure I agree with that.
So, at least we'll give the letter. We have to give some direction to Chris. We were hoping that we could find funds in the budget as it stands, but you're saying now there would have to be additional funds added to the budget?
No, I think we could not do something else in the plan.
Oh, no, that's not.
That's
Yeah, I'm
kind
not
of
gonna do
inherent
that to
in what
John.
you,
But now we've got phones and pipes and pumps.
So, the other alternative is to have, those folks that felt strongly about this to come to town meeting and increase the budget to have that done. Because there's not a consensus on the board, so that would be the alternative.
yeah, well, there's kind of two different things at work here. The petition was to pave the entirety of Guile Road,
Right.
which the three of you did not get very far with because of the size of
I,
the.
well, hold on a second. I recused, right? I
The board.
recused.
The
and
board
I-
did not get
and-
very
and
far with it,
I
so.
gave the board, I sat right there, and I gave the board suggestions on what they would want to investigate in order to come to an objective conclusion.
We remember that. Your point is though that the petition was for the entire road,
Right.
not just the apron.
Right.
Correct.
Right.
And in speaking with Jim, he seemed, while he was here, to be agreeable or amenable to just the apron.
Oh, sure, yeah.
So
And then that's where,
Well, I
Here's my concern, honestly. My concern is I don't know what was more important to him, the fact that it was a safety issue or the fact that it was causing a dust problem for his business. It's not clear to me what the real issue is,
yeah, that's a good point.
right? And if it creates a safety issue, then we should be looking at all of the roads that are in a similar situation and addressing the safety issue for all of them.
Right.
Okay. Have we helped you with the letter?
Yeah, obviously you're gonna see whatever I spit out, but
Yeah.
we'll
Okay.
see what,
Okay.
see what
And
comes of
if-
that.
And if that's not satisfactory to those folks, they can raise the budget at
Sure.
town meeting.
Exactly.
Sure.
Okay, so we are at our 7 o'clock. What I'll do is I'll open the bond hearing for the requested Quint fire truck. Is anyone here to speak to the bond? Have we passed out anything so these folks?
No, we don't really have any new information on it. This is just a step in the process of, you know, the law dictates that you have to hear from the public prior to town meeting before, voting on it. So, this is an opportunity for you to hear. There's nothing new to present.
Right. Okay, let me sort of set the stage, and then folks can speak to it as they feel free to. In anticipation of a warrant article for purchase and bonding of a fire truck, we have contacted the New Hampshire Bond Bank and Bond Council. The bond bank is the typical and nearly universal source of municipal bonds for smaller municipalities and bond issues in the state. The bond bank requires a bond council's opinion on the validity of the bond, the town's process ability to make bond payments, etc. Nottingham has used Divine Millimet as bond counsel in the past with successful results. Given this history and the tight timelines within which we have to operate, I would like to engage them to start this work, and we have done that. We have received the bond bank and bond council's checklists and deadlines, and the amount of money that we're going to be requesting for the bond.
425.
425, and that's gonna be payable over
6 years.
6 years. And the interest that we think we're going to be charged?
Well, we don't put it that way, but we can say that the last bond issue went out at 2.2%.
Okay. I'll open for public comment. Seeing none, I'll close public comment.
Vote to close the public hearing.
Okay, vote to close the public hearing and then have the discussion?
You don't have anything to discuss, you're just listening tonight. You've already voted on all your stuff.
That's true, okay. Motion to close the bond hearing,
So moved?
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That was it?
As you were.
How are the roads? Oh, good, glad to hear that, very glad to hear that. Okay, we do have another, hearing on a petition warrant article, and that is scheduled for 7:30. I don't feel comfortable opening it at this hour,
Yeah.
so we'll continue on.
I'm gonna
You
jump
wanna
out
talk
real
about
quick.
the flagpole?
Let's talk about the flagpole.
Wanna do that now?
Do you wanna
Okay.
do that?
Yeah.
Then we can do rec revolving real quick. You wanna step out? We can probably
Yeah,
do
you know what,
rec revolving
A,
without you.
yeah, but you know what, A, the liability legislation, that's another one that you pretty much know everything I do.
Yep,
You've read everything I have, so.
right.
You wanna tackle that too?
Yeah, wanna do-
That should be long.
Yeah, we can do that.
Wanna do municipal
Yep,
liability?
yep.
How do you guys feel on that? I'm interested. We should weigh in, we don't have to weigh in, but if we feel we should. This is a change in the law that is up at the State House as we speak. What?
Proposed changes.
Proposed change, yeah.
Yeah.
And what it would do, it would increase the liability of towns in accidents at playgrounds, plowing. Right now, the towns have a certain amount of immunity. This would take away a tremendous amount of the immunity, and so that the town could be sued personally for injuries on like a basketball court, at a playground.
So it's not just towns, it's school districts.
Oh, school districts,
So
absolutely,
a school
yeah.
basketball coach could be,
Yeah, basketball coach could be sued, it looks like personally.
yeah.
And so, right off the bat, I think it's a bad idea. But what I was trying to get answers from today from Municipal Association, and they weren't open, was what if the town is grossly negligent? The plow truck driver, God forbid, had a couple of cocktails, and a citizen from our town is genuinely hurt, injured, incapable of ever working again, or something, a scenario like that. What does a citizen do?
Is that not allowed now? Wasn't there?
That's what I was trying to find out.
Because wasn't there a distinction, I forget what the language was in there, but wasn't there a distinction? You know?
Between gross negligence and just
Yeah,
negligence, I didn't pick that up.
yeah.
So I was going to call, and I was hoping Chris, come back here, Chris, could kind of fill us in on, you know, you wanna be fair. You can't have every little, and kids fall down. Sports, sometimes people get hurt.
Right.
There'll be none of that. If this legislation goes through, I don't see any insurance company indemnifying a town, in which case you would not have any fun at all.
Doesn't the, you said that, for example, a coach could be personally sued.
That's what-
Isn't there indemnification now? I mean,
Absolutely.
for anybody serving the town on any boards,
It's almost called, what is it called, the good neighbor or
so
something
are
like
you
that.
are you saying that this legislation strips that away?
That's what it
Says
appears
that
to
the
be.
town, that the municipal insurance can no longer indemnify? Because that's different.
I'm not sure if that's what it said, but I think, in fact, if you use this coach example, somebody could sprain their ankle at basketball practice, feel that it was negligence because of the coach, and then the school district could get sued
Yeah.
for that.
See, right now, they can't, they have immunity, the school district has immunity from those kinds of lawsuits. Even if the coach was indemnified by our insurance company, how long are insurance companies going to be insuring school districts or towns if this is gonna happen constantly? And there's certainly the possibility of that. Can you answer me a question, because that's what I was trying to get answered from NHMA today? If there's a situation of gross negligence by a town or a school district that results in injury,
Yep.
then we're not immune from that type of a lawsuit, are we?
No, if we're negligent and that we, knew about a problem and didn't correct it.
Right, there was
That's
a loose board in the floor and the child breaks his leg. That,
No, if we know that we got an employee who has a drinking problem and we let him drive a truck,
Right.
Yes. That is our greatest exposure, is when we have problems that we know about and we don't address in a timely
Under the
fashion.
current law or under the new
Current
proposed?
law.
Under current law.
Yeah.
so there is a,
We're not immune from everything right
Right.
now. We are.
right.
But the law is definitely in our favor, in that we're not presumed to know about every problem before it happens, so.
that was my concern.
Right.
What were the three issues, do you have that? The three issues that came up that they wanted to change?
I'm looking, I'm trying to find the email that he sent.
Yeah, I didn't copy it. There was a lot of paperwork on it.
Yeah.
NHMA, it wasn't NHMA, it was the newspaper from LGC.
The legislative alert.
Well, what action can we
We can write,
take out of this discussion?
LGC is there fighting this.
Right.
They work for us, and so they
Right.
are fighting the change in the legislation. We could have written a letter to our representative saying, what are you, crazy?
Yeah,
Yeah.
We can do that.
Yeah.
okay.
That would be the end of everything. That would be the end of parades, sports, everything.
I think it's appropriate to write a letter expressing concern about it.
Yeah. And, there was some concern expressed to me, if a coach can be sued personally, then a, plow truck driver who's not inebriated, who's doing his job and happens to clip something or somebody, and that could very well end our plowing. So, I mean, this has got serious implications. So,
Taken to the nth degree.
Yeah,
what's that
well,
there?
So taken to the nth degree, yeah.
And there would be people doing that. And it's the cost, it's not necessarily that these people would ever succeed in this lawsuits, but the cost of of fighting it legally.
Well, it
It's
could.
cost prohibitive.
Yeah, and what we don't know is what the implications would be on the municipal and school district insurance.
That's what I'm talking about.
Policies.
Either we wouldn't be able to get them, or they would be so expensive, we couldn't get them.
Right.
So, if,
So it's,
go ahead. There were three instances where.
yeah, the three examples that they gave were a high school athlete is injured during practice and sues the coach and the school, or a participant in a town's sports program is injured and sues the coach and the town.
Right now, that was thrown out by the courts. That's what happened.
Yeah, that's barred under current law. A police officer stops a driver because of what seems like erratic driving. After interviewing the driver, the officer concludes that he is fit to drive and lets him go. The driver is subsequently involved in an accident that injures another person, and that person sues the police officer in the town.
And that was also thrown out.
And then the third example is a police officer is attempting to arrest a suspect, and the suspect becomes violent. To subdue the suspect, the officer shoots him twice with his taser. The suspect sues the officer and the town, claiming that a single shot was all that was necessary. It goes on further to say, in short, any perceived mistake by a municipal employee or official could lead to a lawsuit.
But as the law stands right now, they are summarily dismissed out of court. So what they're gonna do is try and change the law so that they would actually have standing to sue the municipalities or the schools.
Because everybody else is responsible, not us. not the individual anymore.
Right, exactly.
Right.
So, does the board feel that a letter to our representatives saying that we're not in favor of this change in the legislation is
Yeah, I am.
warranted?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
absolutely.
I think this NHMA articulates it pretty well, because they say, this would make it extremely difficult for municipalities to function, not to mention significantly increasing costs for insurance and legal expense.
Yeah, so, yeah,
I agree.
can you drop a line to these folks and let them know, don't, and this is coming up for vote on Wednesday?
Nah, not the full house, I don't think.
No?
It's too
You said
soon.
something about Wednesday.
There is a hearing.
It's a hearing.
Oh, okay,
Hearing Wednesday
Okay.
at 9.
so we probably should do it by email, is that okay with
Yeah.
you folks?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
We want it there before,
Yeah, there's actually 2 different bills.
now, we'll send it to our reps. Do you want it to be sent to the chair of each of those committees, the relevant committees?
See, why not?
Okay, all right, it's fine, the relevant committees. Yeah. Okay, so moving right along. Oh, wait, chief.
Yep, no, go ahead.
Okay, flagpole at Town Square.
So Chris, what you sent us, is that 3 different options?
Yes, I just,
The people that raise and lower the flag are actually here. Could we
Oh,
invite them
very
up?
nice. Yeah, I didn't know they were here.
Yeah.
Come on up, folks.
Come on up.
Thank you. What about,
Those are the 3.
yeah.
Yeah, first, thank you for doing this.
Yeah, unbelievable.
So can you explain to us what you were explaining to me about the state of that flagpole?
Or, I'm Shannon Taylor, for those of you who don't know, this is my husband Jim.
Welcome.
We've been taking care of the flagpole and doing minor repairs as necessary to the means that we can do. The flagpole itself obviously is aged. I don't know when it was erected, but you can, it's obviously an older pole. And where it sits at the top of Ledge Farm Road, it sees some serious winds up there. And you can see that the pole is sort of more than the Leaning Tower of Pisa now. And it's taking quite the beating. The halyard is in multiple pieces and held together with knots. My husband recently, just last weekend or the weekend before, the flag was hanging off by one hook, and the wind had just pulled it right off. So we're out there in the freezing cold trying to pinch the hooks closed just to keep it up there.
That is a good windy spot.
It is. So, I mean, we were just thinking about the possibility of being able to replace that pole where it is.
You wouldn't be doing that
The
till
top of
sometime during the summer?
town. Yeah, I mean, if the town would approve it, I think obviously warmer weather would be best and not frozen ground.
How tall is that pole?
I estimated 30,
I
but
believe it's a 35 foot
Yeah.
pole, yeah.
30?
So is that the only difference in these 3 options that you've given us, is the height?
yeah, I took Mark's note from last week and said, all right, let's just throw something at the wall here, and
Yeah.
said,
Yeah.
so I wrote to the local place that I could find and said, give me some options.
Yeah.
Not knowing what you would want, I said, well, give me, whatever, so at 30.
What's the height of the flagpole right now?
I think it's a 30 or 35 foot pole.
Yeah.
The thing that we were looking at, I don't know if you were looking, Yankee flagpole is one of the most local places there in Lindenborough. But there's different options for what a flagpole can withstand wind-wise. And during the height, I mean, you've got good gusts of like 90-mile-an-hour winds up there at some
Is
points.
that a fiberglass pole right now?
No, it's
No,
steel.
So I would think the fiberglass
And it's a
would be
sectioned,
better.
it's a sectioned pole that was welded together.
Oh, it is.
So you can see where the weld's obviously aged, it's tipping, and then up at the top it's tipping.
I've seen, of course, I've seen the flagpole, but is it one of the ones that you pull the pins out and it lays down?
No, it's not a
Yes.
telescoping pole. This one is welded.
Yeah, but you
I
pull
think
the
it
pins
used,
out and
it used to have a hinge in it.
Yeah, it does have
Yeah.
a hinge down at the bottom, it's
I don't
all
think that's
rusted.
a-
I
oh,
don't
it
think,
isn't.
I don't think it could ever come apart now.
Oh, okay, so if we get a new flagpole, that would all have to be put into.
Yeah.
So is that part of the numbers that you're showing here, Chris?
Yeah, the first pass that we got was installation fiberglass. I'm looking for I can explain something about the wind rating and the makeup of it here, if I can just find the right note.
Read to them
Yes.
30 foot pole?
So Chris went to High Flying Flag Company in Greenland, and he looked at 3 different options: 30-foot commercial white fiberglass flagpole, which would be 1,635, I'm sorry, 1,634 for the flag. Complete,
That's a complete revolving
Truck.
truck? Does that mean they replace the thing that makes it lay down? Is that what they call it?
No, the truck is at the top.
Oh, okay.
of the flagpole.
Okay.
So instead of it being fixed, it'll actually spin around
Yeah.
instead of the
okay,
Good
flag getting
idea.
all knotted up and tangled.
yeah,
Good idea.
and so then installation is $650. So basically what Chris did is he got a 30-foot, a 35-foot, and a 40-foot option. The prices being $1,634, $2,070, and $2,420, with the 30-foot having a $650 installation fee additional, and then the other two having $750. So you're looking at, for the 30-foot option, you're looking at about $2,300.
Jim, do you have any idea what the cost to replace the bottom of it would be? Just a ballpark? I'm thinking,
Well, you get DPW over there with an excavator and it'd take about 2 seconds to just pull it out. It's like it's
Yeah,
just-
what I had told the flag people was, we'll take the old one out and you put a new one in. That was, I just,
is it, what do you think?
The one that's
it's
in
gonna
there is
need, it's
just
gonna
a
need new
concrete wall.
concrete.
Yeah.
It's about,
No
In our
matter
own
what you
highway
put
to
in-
do that?
No
Okay.
matter what you put in would need new concrete anyway.
yeah.
Okay.
So the numbers that you have are, single-piece fiberglass, 120-mile-an-hour wind rating without a flag.
How much
Approximate,
would the flow?
doesn't say.
It drops it drastically.
I would think, yeah.
Approximately 6 to 7 inches at the base, tapering to 3 inches at the top, external halyard with revolving trucks.
I would
pretty much
strongly suggest an internal halyard.
Okay.
What is the halyard?
You can see where.
The string that pulls the pole up, being on the outside, the one that's there takes a serious
Beating,
beating in the
yeah.
wings. And if it's on the inside, longevity-wise, it's gonna have a longer
How
life.
does it work on the inside?
It just,
Just runs up and down the
runs
pole,
up.
that's all.
Okay.
Clever.
Same thing as an external, except it's
On the
inside
inside.
the pole.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is there a slot that the
Yeah, that's
the
where-
whole flag goes up?
Okay.
Well, there's a weight at the bottom of the flag
Yeah,
on the outside,
okay,
and then the halyard is all,
just like your old-fashioned dumb waiters.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, you wouldn't think there was this much to a flagpole.
Well,
And depending on the pole, then you also get, like a grounding pole in case of lightning, depending on
know
what
if-
you're getting.
what you were talking about.
No mention of it here, so I'll flush that out.
Do you need that with the fiberglass?
No, you don't.
Probably
I
not.
think
Fiberglass
we're gonna,
doesn't
I think we're
conduct.
gonna be going fiberglass.
Right.
Is that the consensus?
The other consideration is lighting at night, because honestly speaking, I mean, we could essentially be doing it, but if it's not lit, all the flags in town really should come down at night.
Yeah, I asked this outfit about the solar, because we don't have power, we don't have a drop there
Yeah.
at that flight, so I said, is there anything good? And they said, no, really, the batteries aren't good enough, especially for a taller pole.
Sounds like a new product, somebody.
I actually bought some cheap, little solar ones that I was trying to light this one with last year, and they were junk. I put them in, they may still be sitting there, I couldn't make them do anything, so.
You put a solar thing up and you gotta worry about the wind with the solar thing too, so.
No, the one I had was a ground-based one, because this is a shorter pole.
And then you gotta worry about vandalism on it.
Yeah, or, plowing or whatever, but, so I don't think there's a good lighting option for us at this point. Short of putting a power pole there and dropping a line in and all that stuff, which I think is probably cost prohibitive, so.
Yeah.
And ugly for that spot.
I'm thinking of a new product myself. We'll have to talk.
Well, you could do it, I think you could probably do it, but it would require a ridiculously large solar panel and battery
Yeah.
yeah.
that,
Right.
Or
Or,
wind.
well, what a
Keep going,
great
keep going,
spot.
keep
Okay,
going.
all right, so, okay.
anyway.
So what do it sounds like we're all generally in agreement.
We have to come up with, 2,000,
I think you should,
800.
I think you should probably,
$2,800, not counting the work the highway would have to.
Well, we gotta work on this internal halyard
Yeah.
question, and
you got other cost things.
Go to other.
would
Yeah, I gotta
contact
talk to some other vendors. and-
Contact Yankee Flag would be great.
Yeah,
So what do you wanna do? You want to, put a not to exceed number, or what would you guys like to do?
I actually have a printout, if you folks would like it,
Oh, yeah, give it,
and it's got sizes, it's got the wall thickness of different poles, like this
Right.
one just happens to be for aluminum, and it has different costs, associated with the size of the pole.
yeah, is that from Yankee?
Has all the wind ratings.
Yeah, is that from Yankee? Is that the, where you got that?
This is from
Okay, well, I'll dig around with it.
American Flagpole.
Great, thanks.
They're all essentially the same.
Yeah.
Why don't I
so,
will,
you wanna move forward on it?
well, I'm in favor of it. I'm definitely in favor of doing it. I'm just wondering if we need to.
Should we wait to see the amount?
Yeah, that's kinda where I was going.
You've got a go-ahead, get us some
Yeah.
concrete figures.
Yeah,
We'll go
yeah,
on.
I think you should make it a project and figure out what it's gonna cost and,
Yeah.
you know,
Where it's gonna come from.
Where
where
it's
it's
gonna
gonna come
come
from and,
Yeah,
you
that,
know.
we haven't
but
identified that either, but,
Is the board in agreement enough on this to commit that it's gonna get done? That something, at
I-
a minimum, something is gonna get done.
What I'm saying, what I think, we could do is have, Chris get all the information, and if it's a significant amount of money that we have to increase the budget, we could, make a motion on the floor at town meeting.
Okay?
Because all the budget stuff's done now, we can't increase the budget.
Or if it's under some amount that Chris feels that he can cover within the budget that
That we
we
don't have to
currently
do that.
have, then
We'll
we'll
make
just do
that
it.
determination when he gets the figures.
Okay?
we can get all that done before town meeting, certainly.
Yeah, I just assume know, what it's really gonna cost and where the money's gonna come from.
Absolutely.
But, yeah, I think we should figure out a way
Thank
to
you
get it
guys
done.
for your care, and
Yes.
You're welcome.
we'll see what we can do.
The eventual goal is to have a veterans ceremony there.
Yeah, that's,
Well, you
that's,
know
I
what,
think,
ultimate goal.
let me,
I'm just the wife of a veteran.
let me fall on my sword a little bit here, because, I don't know if it was you or if it was Frank O'Hanlon,
Both Frank and I had,
you know.
Had talked about it, yeah.
And somebody brought up to me, I think might have been on Facebook, a year and a half ago, and I said, hey, that's a great idea, and I brought it here, and we talked about, doing something to recognize our vets, and,
we've got a lot of them in town.
yeah.
that's a great
And we
idea.
should, and so the falling on my sword part of it is, didn't get it done, didn't get that part done, but I'm hoping that the board
This is-
going forward will.
I think this is a wonderful opportunity to make the flagpole sort of a center of those kind of festivities.
Yep.
So, yeah. We got a little ways to get it done, so hopefully we can.
I'll go check on my pipe.
Or you can go check on it, and it's,
Thank you.
you'll be back by 7:30?
Yeah, just in just a minute.
Okay. Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you. We could go ahead on the rec revolving. We don't need him.
Sure.
Has the body of the trucks gone by? I gotta do that.
I was okay with that proposal
Of everything that
about,
was sent by?
about the maps, or the mats.
Yeah, I'm okay with it too.
I was okay with the whole thing.
Yeah, the recreation department sent us a memo, that they need to replace some of its floor mats and has an opportunity to purchase some slightly used, ones that will meet their needs. And this also provides the opportunity to sell some old ones.
So the background is, we approved, the rec department to buy the new mats, the red ones that are much easier to lay out. And these blue ones, are more difficult to lay out, but they've got the Velcro pieces on them, and I think that she's kind of put them aside.
Okay.
And so I think what she's saying is, hey, she's got an opportunity to buy more of the ones that we really like, and there's some value in those blue ones, so let's move them out. And it looks like a good opportunity. I mean, they're slightly used, the new ones, so look to me, it made total sense to me when I read it.
Also, she's, Janet Horvath, the rec director, until recently, she's also alerting us to the fact that our liability insurance provider does not cover bounce houses.
Right.
So she says that, the town of Barrington has a separate insurance policy for their one bounce house, we have two. That costs approximately $1,200 a year. Because the cost of, and need for more space in the closet, we're planning to sell or offer for bid the regular bounce house and one of the combo slide bounce houses. So that's part of this. Also, our liability insurance provider does not cover bounce houses. Rider coverage is prohibitively expensive, so we would like to sell the two that we own. So, we don't, does anyone have a problem with Jan's recommendation?
Nope.
And then I'll take a motion.
Make a motion that the Board of Selectmen authorize the purchase of floor mats from the rec revolving fund for a cost not to exceed $1,300. And further, that the board authorize the town administrator to sell up to 8 floor mats and 2 bounce houses, with proceeds to be deposited in the recreation revolving fund.
I'll have a second on that.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Done. Okay, we have now I'm going to open the public hearing on a citizen's petition warrant article. I'll read, are you in favor of increasing the Board of Selectmen to 5 members? Is anyone here to speak to that? Come up and identify yourself, Tony. How are the roads? Anybody come in lately?
It wasn't that bad when I was driving it.
Dumas?
Yes.
Just for the
Dumas.
folks back home.
Tony Dumas. All right, thank you for having me here tonight. So as you know, I submitted a petition to increase the Board of Selectmen from 3 to 5 people. I thought about that for quite a while before I decided to go ahead and pursue it. I think there's a lot of good reasons to do it. I think there's a lot of advantages. I understand that this has been tried in the past, and I didn't really look into the history of it because I didn't want to get caught up in the weeds of, you know, any of the, you know, the other politics behind whether or not it should have been done. I just wanted to look at the rational basis for doing it. So this is the quick and dirty list of what I brainstormed out of it. Our town is growing. We're approaching 5,000 residents. Our budgets have grown respectively as our needs have changed over time. You know, for example, 50 years ago, we had like 2 fire trucks. Today we have 4 and a utility vehicle, and that reflects our needs as a growing town. Because the town is growing and the budgets are growing and the needs are growing, there's a greater commitment required from the existing Board of Selectmen. So I know this is, it is demanding on your time, and, you know, God bless you all for doing it. But it is a time commitment. You have subcommittee memberships, for example. Everybody puts in time at, you know, the school board, the budget committee, the zoning board, CIP committee. Those are demands on your time, and with 3 of you, that means somebody's got to do more work. You know, you got to divide it more between you. With 5, that work could be divvied up a little better, and also bring the additional expertises to the table that aren't available now. In terms of expertises, I'll say our demographic has changed. Even as late as 100 years ago, or as early as 100 years ago, Nottingham was still mostly farmers and tradesmen. Today, you have, you know, tradesmen, but you also have independent businessmen, you have doctors, lawyers, IT people, and so on. I mean, you have a wide spectrum of expertise in the town that you didn't have in the past. So that is a much larger pool of professional expertise to draw from, to populate the board with. So there's some value added in drawing from that, I think, for a larger board. One of the things I was thinking about was conflicts. You know, say you have to vote on spending some money on a contract, and somebody is related to, you know, somebody that owns the business, for example. somebody has to back out, and I'm making such, you know, a key decision with just two people, it doesn't sit right with a lot of folks. In fact, I found when going around talking to folks about this, a large percentage of people were under the impression that we already had a 5-member Board of Selectmen. So they were surprised to learn that we didn't. So, in fact, I was kind of surprised when I learned we didn't myself. Having 5 selectmen would allow that one person to bow out, and you've still got 4 people to vote, 4 people to apply their expertise to the decision. It's, sure.
Can I interrupt you just for a minute? Did you know that the Board of Selectmen has the ability in that situation to appoint an alternate by law?
You can?
Yeah.
Yeah, actually,
Because
I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah.
But that's good.
Yeah, absolutely.
But then, yeah, back to that issue, you know, making major decisions with so few people. A lot of people are turned off by the idea of a majority of 2 making a critical decision.
Can you give us an example?
I don't know, I think the phrase speaks for itself. Majority of 2 isn't much of a majority, you know what I mean?
But there is a mechanism already to address that within the law, so I don't think on a real critical issue that isn't already addressed.
Right, right.
So,
And I wouldn't use that as the one and only reason
Sure.
to pursue this,
Yeah.
but it, you know, it makes the list anyways. I was asked by people, why would we want to create a bigger government, right? Because there are people that are, you know, opposed to that, myself included. But to this, I would say, we're not increasing, we'd be increasing the size of the board, not necessarily the size of the government. We'd simply be adding to the existing board, but we wouldn't be creating any new bureaucracy.
How do you draw that conclusion?
Like I said, it's not an additional body to begin with, and we're not adding to the machinery of town government. There's not gonna be a new department, it's just simply adding people to the existing board.
it sounds like government's usual excuse, because the 3 of us, his plate is, I don't mean to, the town administrator's plate is full with 3. It would create an additional burden within the selectman's office. I mean, just rationally thinking, there's gonna be 2 more people asking for information to be found, you know, so that there's gonna be more work, which would require additional hours of work.
Should just let him finish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's gonna be pros and cons to it.
Yeah.
And I think, especially these days, we have the benefit of computerized automation to help with information retrieval and distribution amongst a group. So that wouldn't necessarily slow down the functioning of the board, you know, beyond what you can accomplish today. Didn't have that 50 years ago, didn't have that 100 years ago, but we have that today, and that can be leveraged. I mean, there is some economy to that. The question of cost did come up, and while this wouldn't be a budgetary item for this year, or for this year ahead of us, it would certainly be a budgetary question during next year's budget development cycle. So, and that would be a question answered by the Board of Selectmen at the time. Do they want to divide up the existing budget line for the stipend, or do they want to add the, you know, the amount of stipend to the budget? Assuming they decided to add to that budget line, I think that, if I remember correctly, the budget line for the stipend for this year ahead of us was averaged out to $3,600 per person. I know you don't all draw the same, but I think that was the figure thereabouts, 3,600.
The stipend is consistent across the board. It's not different for everybody. It's 3,600. We don't draw different.
Piece, yeah.
Oh, okay.
We don't draw different.
Yeah,
Wait, are you getting paid more than me?
No,
No, that makes sense.
all
I just
coming
heard
out
that there
now.
was some seniority-based
No,
differentiation.
No.
But didn't you know I give it all back?
All right, well, see, you learn something new every day. But, yeah, assuming that $3,600 per person stipend, adding another $7,200 to the budget, if it was applied this year, it would be a 0.19% difference in the overall town budget. Divide that amongst the number of households in town, I couldn't find exact figures for 2014. It's somewhere between 1,300 and 1,400 households. That's between $4 and $5 total on the final tax bill. Not the tax rate, the actual bill. So, while it is an increase, it's a tiny one, so. And that's pretty much everything I had brainstormed.
Hey, Tony.
Tony, I just want to correct one thing.
Yeah.
When you talked about us serving on other committees, the only committees that we have BOS representation on are budget and planning and CIP. We are not involved in the school board, and we don't have anyone sitting in zoning. So they're.
In what?
By,
zoning,
right, by law, we're not allowed to be in zoning.
Okay,
right.
okay.
So it's three.
Right.
And the way that the CIP has worked this year is that all three of us were
Right.
part of that, so just
Right,
wanted to
right.
make sure you clear up that.
Yeah, I wasn't clear on all that. But that was just, I was just pulling names of boards and committees out of my head, so.
Yeah.
But yeah. So, that's pretty much all I have,
Thank you.
so, thank you.
Sure.
Mishka Haddock. I just wanted to add to what Tony was saying in saying that, you know, it's great to have, you guys have done a phenomenal job and I love what you've done with the town. Obviously, people like it. They moved to Nottingham for that reason. It's a great town to be in. But I think that if we could get a broader group of people from the whole spectrum, from, you know, of almost like age group, if you will. But I also think that the theory of the workload being more on Chris or whoever's town manager doesn't work, only because you're taking your 3 workloads, spreading it out to 5 people. It's still the same workload going to Chris. You've got 5 people that are covering all the details of the town, and it's taking more. It's giving you each less work and allowing you to spread it out so that you guys can, or whoever's sitting on the board, can concentrate more in depth on the items that you are covering or the items that you are researching versus trying to do it all.
You don't think that there would be more issues with 5 people than with 3 that would end up
So
in the town administrator's lap?
No, because otherwise you're telling me that you're missing issues. So
No, but
if
everybody-
5 people are gonna cover all the same issues that you're currently covering, they're all gonna end up in his lap.
Yeah.
Whereas if 3 people are doing it, then, and you're telling me that it's not overburdening him as it is, then we're missing stuff.
Well,
Stuff is not getting covered that should be covered.
well, I don't think that we're missing anything.
I don't think you are either, but
I
I'm just saying.
I don't agree with your organizational theory, though, either. When you have, a smaller organization is always more efficient than a larger organization. When you have 5 people or 11 people working on a board, then the number of conversations and the number of interactions that have to happen in order for that board to draw a conclusion, it's an exponential algorithm. So what you're saying is you're gonna do the same amount of work with 5 people versus 3, which means the complexity of that work just grew. You haven't actually achieved anything other than having 5 people looking at something that 3 can very well take care of.
I think you've achieved the fact that, to Tony's point as well, is that should one of you be sick or not be able to attend the meeting, you're gonna tell me that you're gonna appoint somebody, but if you've got something that you need to decide upon and there's nobody here to appoint at that point in time, you're not getting that project done,
So what we've done several times over the last 6 months, because of travel people traveling is we actually move meetings around to accommodate it. You know, so it's not an issue, it's really not an issue. Really not.
One thing I worry about.
I'm in favor of 5 people on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
understood,
yeah.
Thank
understood.
you.
One thing that I worry about is, with 3 of us, 2 is a quorum. So no 2 of us can go off and have a conversation about, you know, what's before the town and what's gonna come
Right.
before a
It's
meeting.
illegal for us to
It's
do that.
illegal for us to do that. However, if the 4 of you and I were on the Board of Selectmen, 2 is no longer a quorum. So I can go to Sue and have a conversation with Sue, and then I can go to Tony and I can say, hey, Tony, Sue and I think we should do this, right? And then I can go to Mishka and say, hey, Mishka, Sue and Tony and I all think you can have these one-on-one conversations that can then, you know, because it's
It's
illegal.
against the law.
Can't,
It's
Mishka, we
illegal.
would go to jail if we did that.
Right.
If we talk to each other about an issue that comes before the town, if I call up Donna, which I have never done, or to Mark, and it became known by anybody, and it would eventually, that is punishable by law.
Yeah.
So and that has been the biggest reason why we have, this has come up a couple of times, it's the potential for collusion and excluding the public into our conversations. So we can't have a conversation about anything that goes on in this town. And it's the law is very specific. If we meet at a party, we are regulated as to what we can discuss. We can discuss the weather, we can discuss our families, as long as it doesn't have anything to do with town. I mean, it's very regulated. That all goes away when you have 5-member board.
Mishka, if you were to become a selectman, one of the things that new selectmen do is they go to the Selectmen's Institute, which is it's a 4 or 5 weekend day training, and they drill that into you. I mean, that's like top thing, you know?
As they do on 5-member boards, since I serve those.
Yeah, but you know, I mean, you've been on the school board and you know how that works, Dawn.
I don't think anyone should suggest that if you add 2 board members, that suddenly there would be collusion.
Well,
There's no prohibition against
there's
it.
no prohibition against it, and, you know how that works, Dawn.
So, I mean,
The other thing, if I might say,
sure.
it's been my experience, I've been a selectman for 15 years, and I've watched different towns go to a 5-member board, and oftentimes it's towns that are much larger than ours. We don't reach that capacity yet to require 5, I don't think. But those are the boards who make it into the newspaper because of the fighting that goes on. Epping and Barrington went to 5, and they never were in the newspaper more than they are now because of the infighting that goes on in a 5-person select board. Excuse me?
Deerfield is also fun.
Yeah, I haven't caught them in the newspaper yet.
Yeah,
But,
they're a similar sized town, so.
yeah. So I've talked to town administrators who have dealt with 5-member boards. They're mostly retired now because it drove them nuts. So I know you mean well, I really do, but if you like Nottingham, give a little credit to the people who have served and have thought long and hard on these different subjects. And I would have to say that I'm not in favor of increasing the size of the board. Sure, Sue?
I just want to ask a question. What is the point at which the population comes in that people typically say, okay, now we should maybe increase the board from 3 to 4 to 5? Is there a certain, you said we haven't reached that cap point yet. but
Seems to
what-
be about 8,000. That seems to be the point where, except Deerfield's nowhere near that number, so I don't know why they did that, but it's usually around 8,000.
In terms of 5, you said 2 makes a quorum.
Yeah.
What, like,
No, and 3 makes a quorum.
okay.
Three.
So if there's 5, can you just explain that dynamic to me again in terms of?
So on a 3-person board, it's illegal for 2 people to have a conversation. On a 5-person board, a quorum would be 3. So 2 people would not be a quorum, so therefore it would not be a meeting.
As
But
long as you met individually with each one or spoke
I
to each
could,
one
I could
individually.
meet one off with each person.
But it becomes this phone thing happening.
Right, right. So, being the only board member who's going to be here,
Yes,
You know,
it's gonna be of Nottingham.
I will, I will, you know, happily support whichever way, you know,
Oh, yeah.
voters want to go on this. I flag the quorum as a concern.
Absolutely.
I'm not sure that I think that the workload requires 5. I think it's a little bit different than the school board because we have different, you know, different boards and committees that handle different functions related to the town. Like there is a planning board, there is a zoning board, there is a CIP, there is a budget committee. So if you look at like the workload of the school board, they don't have all of those elected boards and committees to help with the business of the school, whereas we do have that for the town. We also have the ability to, you know, appoint committees like with Marston. So, I mean, those are the 2 things that stick out with me, but, you know, as I said, I'll be happy to support whichever way the voters want to go.
Right. Thank you very much for getting involved in putting the petition warrant article in. It's wonderful. Citizen participation, I mean, that's what it's all about.
I will say, we did, a little bit, we did an online survey just before we went ahead and did this, and, you know, I just set a goal of 100, and we got 101, and what I loved is, the comments were great, all the same things we were saying, but even what impressed me and kind of shocked me more was that the spectrum of people who signed, all over the age groups, all over the Democrat, Republican, way to the left, way to the right, so, you know, I did think that that was a really nice.
So the first time we hold an election to add 2 more people, we'll have 2 people running for each seat, right? I mean, I'm a little serious there
Yeah.
about, you know, another fear is that for the first year or 2, everybody's gung-ho, you know, because they want to support this, and then interest wanes, and then we're just appointing people to fill seats, which then defeats the whole purpose of what you're trying to accomplish, right?
And I think that's what happens in these towns, and because nobody runs for the office, because there's so many of them, that people with certain agendas or no agendas at all get on the board, and that tends to gum up the works. So,
There is a mechanism to return to 3. It's exactly the same as this, except the language is changed to argue in favor of decreasing the Board of Selectmen from 5 to 3 members. The process is the same.
I know of no example of that, ever.
Yes, it has happened. North Country, a few years ago, a town not quite as big as us, went from 3 to 5, and I don't know the time span between choosing to go to 5 and then choosing to go back to 3, but it has happened.
Do you know
Government
do you know the
shrinking.
dynamics around it? Were they just unable to sit a 5-person board in a small town?
I don't know all the dynamics about it. I imagine there were a lot of those newspaper articles involved.
Yeah, exactly.
So I would tell you guys, that, I think 3 is the right number
Right now.
and I think 3 is the right number, not because we all get along, because we don't. You know, we don't all
I
agree.
would call you anyway.
We don't all agree on everything. But when we're having a conversation about what we're agreeing on or not agreeing on, we're having it right here.
Yep.
It's in public. There's no backdoor anything going on. There cannot be any backdoor anything going on. The workload is matched very nicely to 3 people.
I will say the irony of that is that several towns who petitioned to go from 3 to 5 used the reverse argument that issues with 2 people creating a quorum outside of the board
Yeah, but
was a concern of the citizens of the town.
I've
because
been-
then a quorum of the board
Yeah.
has discussed something and then brought that
Well,
power to the
then
table.
what ought to happen in that case, Dawn, is those 2 people ought to be, ought to be prosecuted.
That's the same in the 3
Absolutely.
to 5. So it's just saying, it's a little, it is ironic, there's a lot of towns use that argument to bump up, is to
No,
avoid that
I don't think that you
situation
can-
where, God forbid, Mary and Donna were just having
Yeah.
a nice chat at a party,
Yeah.
and suddenly someone was accusing them of
Yeah.
colluding, so a lot of towns actually use that as their position to add two members was to avoid that, even that perception of two people
Yeah.
who might be friendly outside.
So
That's why we
that may
make
be,
Chris-
that may be other towns, but I've been doing this for 4 years, and it's never happened here. And I
So you won't be
certainly,
here.
I certainly wouldn't, wouldn't participate in something like that. But if I was on a, but as on a 5-person board, or if I'm serving on the budget committee, I know that there's back conversations that go on in both of those places. I know very well. So, does that mean it's collusion? I don't know, but I can tell you for sure that not all conversations happen in public. And on this board, because
Believe me,
it's
they
3
do.
people, and because the laws are very clear, it has to happen in public.
As it does on any other board.
No, you're wrong.
A quorum cannot.
A quorum cannot, but to Donna's point, if you got a 5-person board, then you just use the community of property, and A talks to B, and B talks to C, and C talks to D, and, oh, guess what? Oh, right?
All done.
That absolutely can occur. It cannot occur here.
I think this is a point that is not gonna be agreed upon.
Right, okay.
And-
I'm
So
never
what
gonna
I'll
agree
do
with
is I'll close the public, everybody's done?
Guys all set?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll close the public hearing on the petition warrant article to increase the Board of Selectmen to 5, from 3 members to 5 members. This will be on the ballot on Tuesday, the March 7th?
8th.
March 8th, I'm sorry, folks, March 8th. It'll be on the ballot, voting from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m., March 8th. There'll be lots of other stuff on there too, so make sure you're there. That's it, folks. We have a non-public, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, guys.
So does the board want to recommend or not recommend?
Oh, we don't, as far as I know, we don't vote to recommend or not recommend a petition warrant article. I wouldn't.
Not for the ballot. You can do whatever you want, but it won't appear on the ballot.
Thank you.
So how is that different from the school board? Because they're SB2, they get to vote
I don't know how
on
they get to
petition
do that.
warrants? Because they did last year. In fact, they changed 2 warrants last year.
Yeah, I know.
So help me understand how that works and why we can't do that.
The SB2 had something to do with it.
The law in this particular case tells you exactly what is to appear on the ballot. Open quote, close quote,
Made me so mad.
period.
Can you find out if we can recommend or not recommend?
Yeah, I'll ask. I'm pretty sure it's a no, but I
Warrants were
will,
already posted.
I'll ask.
Okay.
Even if we could, I wouldn't.
Yeah,
It's it's the citizens' right to say whatever they want to say, and I will not weigh in on it on the ballot. So I can make my point known anywhere else I want to, but
Okay.
not that way.
And yet,
And yet, I know the school did it.
So, Madam Chair, this is the point where I'd be wishing we had running water.
We have running water.
Do we really?
Oh!
May I be excused for a moment?
Yeah, we're gonna take a vote to go into non-public. Do you wanna, motion to go into non-public?
under 90, RSA 91-A:3, 2
A.
A.
All in favor, roll call vote?
Mark, aye.
Donna, aye.
Very aye. Good night, folks. We are now in non-public. I don't believe we're gonna be making any decisions in non-public. And as soon as we come out of non-public, we're going to be
Adjourn.
adjourning. So,
Thank you very much
you have
for
a
watching.
wonderful night. Stay warm.